Hey guys, it's Alex, and today I want to talk about the two parts that are involved in communication. You may be thinking, wow, there's way more to it than just two parts. Let me explain, because the answer to that is not really. There is sending messages and receiving messages. That's all communication is about. So when you get communication wrong, meaning a conversation you had totally goes left, the person you're talking to doesn't understand where you're coming from, you're not saying things the way you even want to say them maybe, it's because of a sending error or a receiving error. That's how miscommunication works. So communicating well and not communicating so well in miscommunication both boil down to the same two elements that make up communication in the first place. So let's talk about what sending messages is and what a sending error is. The sending message is just basically when it's your turn to talk, and whatever you want to say, you being able to say that. And then when it goes wrong, it's your inability to actually say what you're trying to say, and that can be for a couple reasons too. So if you're trying to say something, usually that comes from a place of originally being a feeling that you have, and then thinking about that feeling in a way that you can convey it. It may surprise you that the part of our brain that feels things doesn't have a capacity for language. So what happens is we've got a part of our brain that's feeling something that we have to send to the other part of our brain that deals with speech and language. So it's no surprise that sometimes when you're trying to say something, it doesn't come out right. It's because it takes a lot of practice of really understanding what you're even feeling, then taking that feeling, putting it into words, and even more than that, making sure that when you're expressing yourself and when it's your turn to talk, that you're saying it in a way and using verbiage that you feel is going to be best received by the other person. Because let's face it, when it comes to having a conversation, what you really need is to express how you feel, and then get what you are saying to be received well by that other person. So sending errors occur when you're using the wrong words. You're saying words that might trigger this other person and make them feel defensive, aka they'll turn off their ears and stop listening, because there are sensitive words like blaming words or attacking words that can set people on the receiving end off because it just hits them wrong. Then the other error that we make when we're sending a message is we don't really know how to say what we're feeling or thinking. And so when it comes out, even if the other person maybe understands what we've said, it won't matter if you've not said what you really want to say. So when you're getting really good at communication, what's happening is you've gotten great at reading the context of the situation, bringing in how this other person might feel once they hear what you're saying, and also trying your best to be clear about what it is you're trying to say. And honestly, this just comes from practice. Maybe practicing really important conversations with people that you trust in your life so that they can give you really honest feedback, and then making sure when they give you that feedback, you take it as feedback and not an insult, which brings us to the next part of communication, which is receiving messages. Receiving messages tends to go wrong when there's a lack of clarity in what the person is saying in the first place, or when they've used a word or something that triggers you from your own personal experience, maybe from a situation that doesn't even have anything to do with this current conversation. But if someone says something and it triggers something from your memory bank about a situation that happened before and a conversation that did not go well, you can be making a receiving error by saying, this person is saying what this person said before, and I didn't like it that last time, so I sure won't like it this time. So what we're doing when we make a receiving error, which just means a listening and acceptance and understanding error, is that we tend to pair things in general That's how we cognitively function. So if we pair a certain word with a previous experience, what we've done is we've turned our ears completely off and we've turned our agenda on. Our past experiences are turned back on, and we're not going to be able to fully engage to what this person in this current conversation is talking about. So how can we get better at receiving messages? Well, the best thing we can do is clarify. Clarification is your friend when it comes to communication. So if someone says something and it hits you a certain way, it could be because, hey, wait a minute, their sending could be an error. They could be saying something that they're using the wrong words, they're using the wrong tone, and everything about what they're saying in that moment is hitting you wrong. It is your job in communication not to just be a passive participant, but to really engage with this person and say, let's pause here. Before you go any further, I want to clarify and make sure this is what you meant. And then you get to use your own words and your own feelings to clear up maybe where some miscommunication could be headed before it actually happens. So with receiving messages, it's really good to acknowledge the sender's message first. Johnny, or whoever it is, what I'm hearing you say is this. And when you say it like that, I'm understanding it this way, and I want to make sure that I'm acknowledging what you're trying to say so that I'm getting it right. Because if you're not getting the message that they're sending in the way that they wanted to send it, and if it's not interpreted inside of you correctly, this is where miscommunication happens all the time. Half the time, arguments take place because we're just not understanding each other. If we could fully understand each other, we might see that, okay, they're sending me a message that actually isn't that bad. I can actually work with it, but it's just the way they said it that's hitting me wrong. So you can see how communication is just two parts. That's it. But within those parts are things that we have to take responsibility for and do in a way that's active and not passive. Don't take what someone says with a grain of salt. Really get into what they're saying and make sure that you're giving them the opportunity to fully explain what they're trying to say. Then you take that message, you internalize it, clarify it if necessary, acknowledge it for sure that they've sent the message in the first place, and then work together in playing this tennis game of the back and forth, of the sending and the receiving of the messages, so that by the end of the conversation, you've partnered, you've transitioned from just your point of view versus mine, and now you're working together. And guys, it's a lot easier to work together when you don't feel personally offended, you're not taking something out of context, and the only way to do that is to really put it all on the table and make sure you're understanding each other by listening, taking turns, not interrupting, using really good language. And we'll talk about verbiage in subsequent videos because that's key in both showing that you want to send the right message and setting up a conversation. And it's also key in making sure that you're using words to let the other person know that you have heard them, you've understood what they have to say, realizing that that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything someone says, but by simply validating someone for sending you a message is half of the battle typically when it comes to conversations. So I hope you found this helpful in breaking down that there really are only two components that make communication work, and in the same token, two components that make communication have areas of opportunity and end up being miscommunication if you don't do them right. Until next time, guys, I hope you have happy and healthy conversations, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.